All right, let's see. Up next, we have Unstoppable Domains. Bradley.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for
What's up,
having me.
man? How are you?
I'm doing excellent. How about
Good,
you?
good. So you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, take it away.
Hey, everybody. My name is Brad Cam. I am a co-founder at Unstoppable Domains. We build domains on blockchains, and I'm here to talk about the state of blockchain domains. But I actually want to start with traditional domains before I get to blockchain domains. And so, going back into the 1990s, that's when domain names became consumer ready. There were some early successes. One was .com. Another one was .org. .com was created by a company called VeriSign. .org was created by and run by a series of different nonprofits. And over time, the domain name space became a bit more advanced. There were a lot of different players. Ultimately, there was a system that was created called ICANN, a system for what we now just call the domain name service, which .com and .io and most of the other domain name systems that we use are a part of. There's a small little distinction there where there's some corporate ones, and then there's some ones controlled by countries. There's a couple of different categories there, but generally speaking, this is all sort of the same system. And there's been a couple of problems that have popped up as a result of these systems, and it all comes down to the fact that the domain names themselves are sitting on a specific set of servers controlled by a group of people. They're not on a decentralized peer-to-peer system like a blockchain. And so some of the weird things that have happened are that domain name registrars are required to be custodians of domain names because, someone has to actually have possession of them in the system. There's no way to give an individual user custody. And so recently there was a case where somebody was able to social engineer a hack and take control of some domain names and reroute money at GoDaddy back in November of 2020. And this is just one of the things that pops up if you have a system that requires custodians. And other cases of it are, it got pretty popular. The .ly domain extension got pretty popular in the early 2010, 2011, 2012-ish timeframe among startups and some other types of companies. But the problem is that .ly was controlled by the Libyan government, and when they had a new government take over, they started enforcing new rules, in particular morality rules, and started taking down certain websites in Canada and other places around the world. So this problem that exists is kind of baked into current DNS, which is how we find websites, and so it's a pretty core part of the internet infrastructure that's been working like this. So enter blockchain domain names. I think probably the first attempt here that many folks would probably remember would be Namecoin. I believe that was back in, I don't even know, maybe 2012, 2013-ish timeframe, soon after Bitcoin, that somebody came up with this idea of domain names on a blockchain. Multiple iterations of it. Ultimately, it became really possible, able to be successful in after Ethereum was live. And so we build our domain name systems on Ethereum, and there's a lot of reasons why that's been an accelerator. And one of the biggest reasons why is because applications that would need to support domain names already support Ethereum. And so what's different between traditional domain names and blockchain domain names, and by the way, blockchain domain names are NFTs, assets on a blockchain. And the reason why they need to be supported is because by default, they don't work inside of traditional DNS, inside of traditional browsers like DNS would. So because of that, you need to wind up going and getting integrations. Because integrations are hard and it's very difficult to get these big, large applications to support any blockchain, much less some specific blockchain. It means that Ethereum has kind of been the platform that the browsers and other web tools have been using. You've seen Opera browser and Brave browser, of course, having Ethereum wallets. Reddit creating their vault, so now there's an Ethereum wallet there. Cloudflare doing reading of the Ethereum blockchain, etc. So the companies have been coalescing around the Ethereum blockchain. This winds up being a huge opportunity for domain names because domain names need to be hooked in everywhere. So this brings us to the state of blockchain domain names today, where we are. So I would say that you started to see traction in this market going back to 2017 with .eth when they did their launch and auction. Into 2018, you started to see a bit more activity and a bit more pickup. 2019, we launched our registries and saw a couple 100,000 domain name registrations. So I think that brought the total number up to around 300,000. In 2020, we started to see major application support. So Opera browser added support for both .crypto and .eth in the Opera browser for Android. And then, of course, there's many wallets and other applications in the crypto space that have been supporting blockchain domain names. In fact, I would say the majority of mainstream wallets are now supporting blockchain domain names across the board. That is the ones that Unstoppable Domains has built, as well as ENS, with very few exceptions at this point. And the remaining major wallets, we would expect would be jumping on in 2021. And then exchanges. So sorry, we're still in 2020. So 2020, we started to see real domain name registration numbers. I believe that the overall market for blockchain domain names is up to around 600,000 domains registered collectively. So this is a pretty big deal. Even in the traditional world, if you see even a couple 100,000 domain name registrations per year, those would be pretty substantial numbers. So we're up to 600,000. The asset class has also matured in 2020. So one other thing we saw, there was a domain name that sold on OpenSea for $90,000, and we're consistently seeing domain names selling for 4 and 5 figures on NFT marketplaces. So just a sign that this is that this market has been progressing a lot in 2020. And in 2021, what we expect to see are kind of the exchanges jumping on board, something that has largely not happened yet, but is starting to happen very quickly at the beginning of this year, and we expect that to continue. And then going forward, of course, more and more browser support. What has been really exciting to me and what makes me pretty excited about the state of blockchain domain names in 2021 is how many mainstream applications have or are integrating Ethereum in some way, which then enables these types of things to be implemented afterwards, such as decentralized websites, such as decentralized finance, et cetera, et cetera. So that is a very quick version on the state of blockchain domains. And if you have questions or would like to talk about ways that blockchain domains can be used, would love to chat with you after.
Awesome, man. Thanks for all of that, Brad. We got to spend some time together doing some interviews at ETHDenver, and some of the conversations that we had were some of the most enlightening things. It was a really refreshing perspective that you were sharing. We're still slated for another, looks like 20 minutes or so. I'm wondering if you've got some other things that we can discuss or we can kind of dig into. I think we had a 28-minute session here.
Oh, I see.
Apologize for the scheduling mishap that didn't pass all the details along.
Oh yeah, no worries. Are we also able to do Q&A?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got, if you have questions for Brad, we have some comments here. I think there's some questions around centralization with unstoppable domains. Do you want to talk a little bit more about you guys and centralization and your views on that and how it's reflected in what you're building?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think centralization is a word that gets, it's got a lot of different pieces to it. So I think that the thing that we believe is that domain names need to be user controlled. The network needs to be such that that there's no way for any company, not just Unstoppable Domains, to be able to get in the way with what you're doing with your domain name. But yeah, we're a corporation, but so is Uniswap, so are all the wallets, so are most of the DeFi applications. That's a common structure. I think the thing that is important here is that users have custody, and so that's the thing to optimize for. I think in terms of making a secure system. I don't care if the company making the product is a for-profit company or if it's like an open source community. I think both of those structures have roles depending on what the product is.
Yeah, good point. We've got a question that says, are you guys open source?
So the registry software is open source. I mean, it's on chain. You can just go look at it. We have a bunch of different products. Like we have unstoppabledomains.com, our registrar. I don't believe that's open source. Although you can use our APIs to build your own version.
It says here, can traditional DNS records resolve to .eth domains?
So we didn't build .eth domains, we built .crypto domains, but I think I can still answer. Can a traditional DNS record? Yes, I believe so. I don't know if anybody has actually set that up. We are getting ready to add some UI support so that you can attach traditional DNS records. I think the use case here would be that you are concerned about, maybe you're concerned about a takedown, or you're concerned about issues that you've been having with your registrar, but you're not concerned about hosting, because in that scenario, you likely would be using some external hosting provider, or I guess theoretically you could be hosting your own content.
Zinc City says, what's your opinions and thoughts on Handshake, HNS?
It doesn't come up that much in the wild. Frankly, the systems that are being used so far, as we can tell, are ENS and US. I think it's really challenging to be on a blockchain that's not Ethereum, which you probably heard in kind of what I was saying early on there. And the reason why is because people are already, all these applications, especially all these web applications, are building tools with Ethereum already. So again, Reddit, Cloudflare, Brave browser, Opera browser. The other browsers that are looking at this technology are also looking at Ethereum. So it just seems really hard to have a separate blockchain for that. And I'm not an expert here, but as I understood it, it sounded like the domain names, they're like a TLD system, but that once they print a domain name and give it to you, the owner of the TLD can still take it back, which I think defeats the purpose.
Yeah. Bardo Chain asks, what are some challenges that you're facing at Unstoppable Domains?
It's all about integrations. And this is very different than being like a Web 2 company, like a traditional web company, because you get integration. Integrations is not something that you need to worry about, because all of these things are already synced together. You already have kind of like one set of DNS servers that people are using as a single source of truth. And if you're part of that, then you just kind of default work inside of browsers. You also, at this point, can default work with web tool providers like Wix and things like that. So all of this stuff doesn't exist yet. And then we also have this other complexity of blockchain domain names can be used for sending crypto. And so you also need integrations with all the crypto companies and all the crypto tools and things like that. So it's all about integrations. That's the really hard part here. I think anybody could, it's not nearly as hard to write code and put it on chain. The much harder part is to get everybody reading it.
Cool. So here's a question. There are no dumb questions. So let's just start by addressing that first. But do blockchain domains have something similar to DNS in order to point requests to the right place?
Yeah, exactly. And so what's happening is that you're creating, you're creating these fields, like these key values, and you're using the domain name as a pointer for anything. So right now, people are using it for crypto payments and for websites on IPFS. So they're pointing they're associating IPFS hashes to the domain name. And so the way this works is anytime you want to add any kind of record to the domain name, then you just sign a message with the private key that controls the domain, and you write that information to the blockchain. So the reason why I know that Brad.crypto, and I do have a blog up there right now, it's a little ugly, that Brad.crypto works as my website, and that Brad.crypto, the owner of Brad.crypto, is the one that put this hash up there, is because I had to sign a message with the private key that controlled that domain to do that. So payments, websites, it's a pointer. In the future, you could point it to anything. You could point it to any number of different networks. You could start using it to associate real world information. We've already done this where you can sign a message with your private key and associate a Twitter handle using Chainlink oracles. So it's like a real world ID attached to your domain name that could show up before someone pays you. So you get some verification, kind of like Venmo. And I think this all gets back to like one thing that that we chat about and think about a lot as a company is that it's a bit of an accident of history that DNS went the way that it did. In the 1990s, there was a push for domain names to be used for consumers. People were building websites. I built a website when I was 15. I had a bunch of friends that were building websites. It was like 1998 or 99 or something like that. And we were sharing them with each other. That was like pre-social media applications. One of the things that people were doing. And over time, social media applications kind of swooped in, and now we moved all of our identifiers over into those systems, and that's where you find us. But there was a point in time in which the domain name was trying to be used that way, and we think that because blockchain domain names are controlled by the user, they're so extensible. You could start to see that happen again, where my domain name kind of becomes my username, my ID for the internet. I can store my social information myself. I can store it on a peer-to-peer network like IPFS, or I can store it on my own device or whatever, and I control it. And then I can kind of log into apps or give access to apps, but I'm in control of it. So you could go and see me directly, or you could also find me on a social media app. So long answer there. Sorry. I think I saw a question about, do we work with IPFS? Yeah. So there's I think 30,000-ish websites that have been built on IPFS that are attached to .crypto domains right now. We've built some like very early versions of like personal website builders and things like that, where you can, with a few clicks, you can build a little website and launch it on IPFS. It's still a little tough to make that stuff really easy. There's a blog tool. There's a few things. So yeah, all of that stuff is super cool, and IPFS is by far the most widely used network for distributed content. So that is our default. We're open to adding more networks in the future, but for now, that's the default.
This person is asking if you've integrated your domains into new wallet addresses created by wallet products.
Yeah, so we're always adding support from wallets, and so the way this works is that wallets read the blockchain, and then when I type in, say, Brad.crypto into the Bitcoin field, they go and they read the blockchain, and then they find my address. Read the Ethereum blockchain, because the domain names are ERC-721 tokens. So you're using lookups on the Ethereum blockchain to send money using whatever currency you want, Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin or whatever. But yeah, wallets are adding support all the time. I believe there's 30-ish so far, something like that, and a bunch of exchanges as well. And yeah, I think this is becoming this is on the way to becoming a standard, because it's way simpler. And I think one of the biggest challenges that wallets have is onboarding new users. How do they explain all this weird crypto stuff to new users? New users go on, they go on TV or social media or whatever, and they hear about they hear about crypto and they want to get started, and they go and they find a wallet and they try to get started, and then they have to be introduced to and educated on long addresses. There's tons of them. Like I might have one for Ethereum, I might have one for Bitcoin, I might have 3 for Ethereum or 4 for Ethereum. It just starts to get very, very complicated. And being able to tell the user you can start to use a human readable name, much more similar to Venmo, is better onboarding. So wallets care a lot about how to get new users into crypto, and domain names have a role to play there. They can help make that a lot easier.
Excellent. This person's asking if you can DDoS attack on .crypto and .eth domains.
So can someone try to spam my address so that a real transaction can't go through to it? It would need to be, the attack would need to be on the network you were trying to send through itself. So like you would need to go and like flood the Bitcoin network or flood the Ethereum network just for my transaction, which seems relatively unlikely. Yeah, so I guess not in the same way. In terms of like website traffic and viewing, I think that stuff is just really it's just really early, so it doesn't work that well. I think in theory, what should happen is that it should get better the more viewers you have, because then you would have more. So like, IPFS is distributed peer-to-peer system where multiple people are all storing a copy of the same file. So you could imagine that you get a whole bunch of traffic. That means you also get a whole bunch of people storing and sharing the file. So you can actually get to better quality uptime as the website gets more traffic. And so it kind of like works in the opposite way as like a traditional website would, where you can get overloaded. In fact, the scale actually would improve the performance in theory.
Excellent, excellent. Let's see here. What else do we got? Oh, here, this is a good one. Do you have a favorite decentralized storage service to store your web hosting info associated with your unstoppable domain name?
So the web content, in our model, the web content, so there's info, which would be, I don't know what you mean exactly by info, but like the hash, that helps you find the content, would be on like the blockchain where the domain name lives. And then the content itself would be on a decentralized storage service. Right now, IPFS is the default platform inside of our tools, but very open to adding more in the future. It's just that's what that network was the furthest along when we got started. That's what we used to build our tools, and we also love the Protocol Labs team and work closely with them.
Yeah, this person's commenting that an integration with Filecoin would be interesting.
Yeah. No, we're looking closely at Filecoin, very interested in it. I think the things that we're hoping to see soon are functioning marketplaces for being able to pay for content uptime. So like if you think about the way it works in like traditional like Web 2 level, you would say, okay, I want to host this much content. Charge me, $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever. And I know that if I pay that, then it's going to, my content's going to stay up. So I think getting to that point is going to be a huge moment for the decentralized web, when you can just pay like that and feel confident that content is going to be up. So we're watching very closely. If anybody has any new Filecoin related products that they're building, that they think could be useful to our customers. What we have is a bunch of people who have bought domain names that are looking to build websites. So if you have tools that you're building that you think would be cool for them, please share. We've got grants program. We've got an ability to share that out with these users. So very, 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 very excited about what's going on with Filecoin, and excited to see some cool products that people can use.
Yeah, this person is mentioning a couple of Saya and Skynet.
Yeah, big fan of the Saya team.
Let's see. Can .crypto integrate with dynamic DNS?
I don't know what dynamic DNS is.
Okay.
So sorry, if you can clarify what that is, I can take a stab at it.
Let's see about this one. Got a name, crypto names related to Dogecoin as recipients.
There have been more Doge related domain name purchases in the past couple of weeks than I've seen in a little while. And this is also kind of the funny thing, maybe about domain names in general, is that there's a little bit of like memeability. And so like whatever, I remember this also happened like right around the time that like Corona started. There was a bunch of Corona related domain name purchases. And then when there's election, there's a bunch of election related things. And when there's, Elon and Snoop Dogg talking about Dogecoin, then I think that's definitely going to generate some Dogecoin related domain purchases.
Yeah. Let's see here. That looks like about all we've got. Anybody else got some good questions for Brad? Go ahead and drop them into the comments.
And sorry I didn't get to the dynamic DNS question. I'll just take a stab in case I'm just even if I'm this is not the direction you were trying to go. Crypto domains are a separate system. They're not intended to integrate with traditional DNS. They're a wholly separate system.
This person is saying that dynamic DNS is the domain name pointing to an IP address that changes.
I see. So is there a way to do so blockchain domains will work with traditional DNS. So if it's possible, so I can't answer whether or not that would work with the solutions that we're building to make it so you can point traditional IP addresses to it. But definitely, I'll definitely take a look at it and share with the team to see. That seems useful. And then on the IPFS side, also don't have enough knowledge to answer how that would work. Seems like a very good question and something to look at, though.
Excellent. Great. Well, it looks like that's it's about all we've got. So
Appreciate it, everybody.
Yeah. Got John here.
Cool. So what's the is the Doge craze the one that's the trending one at the moment with all the purchases?
I think if you I think it basically tracks to whatever's trending on Twitter. So
Wall Street Bets, I'm sure, got bought up.
Yeah, so that's like a good way to. I mean, I think that might even be what people are doing. They're like looking and seeing what is like what's trending on Twitter, and then going and grabbing up some domain names based on that. But yeah, we've been seeing this for a while.
Yeah, I'll bet. Cool. Thanks, Brad.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. We'll see you.